Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe Coffee Chat. Ich bin Joel, euer Host, und ich interviewe verschiedene Unternehmer, Macher, Selbstständige über ihre Passion, warum sie morgens aufstehen, was sie jeden Tag begeistert, was sie antreibt. Und heute habe ich einen ganz besonderen Gast, den Jared, und diese Folge wird auf Englisch sein, weil wir in Australien sind. Jared hat dort eine Filmproduktion und Werbeagentur. Thanks, Jared, for joining. Thanks for having the opportunity to have you on my podcast in your studio in Australia. Thanks for the invitation to Sydney into your office. The Coffee Chat podcast is always about why people start something, what is their passion, and we both have a nice coffee. The length of the podcast is like until you are done with your coffee. Okay. So this could be a really short one or a really long podcast. So
if I get nervous, I can just drink it.
Yeah, okay, or it's up to you.
Well, welcome to Australia. Thanks for coming in. Is it normal that the guest provides the coffee? I guess you couldn't bring it.
Yeah, next time I will bring my espresso machine. Like, you have a really good espresso machine, but next time I will show you also with latte art and everything. Like, usually I try to always offer the coffee, but yeah, next time. But the next time you are invited to my studio in Germany, and then we need to make a podcast in German.
Fantastic. I will do my best to learn German by then.
Perfect.
2029, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Perfect. But now for the guest, can you shortly explain who you are and what are you up to?
Sure. I'd love to. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, my name's Jared and I'm the founder and CEO of Tiny Giants. It's a company that I started 2006, the end of 2006, after I finished studying. And so that's been a long time. We're kind of approaching 20 years now. And this company, we're sort of spread around the world. We're a small team, but we're a dynamic, I want to say duet, more than duet. There's a whole bunch of us, but we cover production. We have an agency, and we also do AV work, which is where you and I connect when you're previously in Australia. Working together back then. So it's good to have you back down under, and I felt like it's been too long. So it's great to have you back in.
Yeah, it's crazy how times flies. 7 years ago, I worked at Jared's office. They renamed during that time, like many companies do, and you also broaden up the scope of what you are offering and what you are doing. And you said you started almost 20 years ago. What was on your heart, or why did you say, hey, okay, I start my own company? Is it like you've just finished uni or learning, and then, okay, that's the only thing I know? Or were you bothered of the big companies? I shouldn't say this in the podcast, but
No, we love the big companies. I think for me, I've always had a passion to try new things and do business. And so I actually started my first business when I was 14, and it was a services business. I like to say not that different to what we do now, or what I do now. And it was literally in my neighborhood. I grew up in a small country town. I would go around and help people fix their computers. So it was called Jared's Computer Help Service. And there's a family friend who's kept a flyer from back then. And you wouldn't do it these days, but my parents were okay with dropping me off at strangers' houses. I'd go in and fix their computer, and sometimes they had viruses or needed to reinstall Windows and all that kind of stuff. And I was 14, and I charged a very high price for this. Do you want to know how much I charge?
Yeah, let me know.
$5 an hour.
An hour?
An hour. So that would have been €3 an hour back then.
Like nothing.
It was nothing. So I always wanted to, I guess, add value. And to this day, we always joke about Jared's pricing is probably a little bit too low. But luckily, I've married someone that helps balance me out in that regards. But yeah, so I've always wanted to do that. And then fast forward a few years, I moved, once I finished high school, I moved to Sydney, which is a bigger town. It's about 3 hours from where I grew up. And I got a job in television. And, the Australian TV networks, there really was only 4 back then. And for a country of, I think it was 20 million when I was in television, it's about 25 now. They weren't huge, but they were big in terms of Australia. They're the biggest in Australia. So I worked for Nine Networks, which is the largest TV network in Australia, and it had a few channels underneath it. And I only really worked there for about a year and a half, and then ended up going to Bible college and studying. And coming out of Bible college, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, But I thought, I enjoy teamwork. Like that's what a lot of what I was studying there. And I thought, it would be cool to try and use my video skills that I've been collecting and the joy of building teams and seeing other people do what they love to do, see if I can combine that somehow. So I started a business and really not knowing what I was doing. I have basic video editing skills and just wanted to go from there. But I was always intent on building a team. That was, for me, what it was always going to be about.
Amazing. With a passion about building team and adding value, I think this is one of the crucial parts if you want to start or grow a business. When you talk about growing a team, when I worked back in the day for you, we were like a really tiny team, and now when I came back, it was like really huge. When was the time that you started with the first employee, or did you start with contracting? How did you get into the position to get bigger projects, get bigger clients, and also grew the team? Because this is for many who are self-employed, like to make the switch to also how I charge, how do I do processes before I do everything myself? How did you get the switch, and when did you started with this process?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think when you're self-employed and in the video industry, really a freelancer, that's kind of a sweet spot. Like it's really fun. Like the first few years, I think I had my first employee part-time was in my second year, if I remember correctly. Shout out to Tim Nagel, still good friends. But yeah, I think the freelancer is great because you don't have the responsibility of providing for others. And if you're good at what you do, you really, I would say you'll make more money as a freelancer until you get to maybe a certain size. I'll tell you when we get there. We got there. But you probably make more money personally as a freelancer, and you get a little bit of flexibility. But then the pressure of like you're always finding the next thing, right? And then you book out, and then you have to say no to people because you personally don't have capacity to do everything. If you're good and you're getting asked to do more things, you end up saying no. And I like saying yes. I like being able to be in a position where you can say yes to more clients, yes to more people. And I like also being in a position where you can offer other people opportunity. And I think that comes back to my background, where I was just really grateful for the opportunities I was given. Again, I was small town. There wasn't a lot to do, but there were people that believed in me and then gave me opportunities to do things, even strangers to fix their computers. Like it sounds silly, right? But it was something that I was really grateful for. My €3 an hour. But yeah, so I guess to answer your question, it comes to a point where you're deciding to invest in others. And if you're predisposed to want to invest into others, I think it's natural to go, yeah, I'll take that sacrifice for the potential of what might come. And you never know what might come. Like you say, we're much bigger now, which is true from when you're here, but we grew a lot more during kind of the start of COVID, and we've shrunk down again. So we're kind of finding where our sweet spot is, and now we use more freelancers. So I think the really easier way to start is if you're a single freelancer or a single person working self-employed, getting one other full-time person can be really daunting because it's 2 mouths to feed, right? So I started with a part-time person, and today I know it's different in Germany, but here we have a lot of contractors, and in Germany you can have, part-timers as well, other contractors. It really depends on the type of work you're doing. But it's a leap. Was I ready? I think I had a lot more to learn about helping and managing people than I did about maybe getting the work done. I felt competent in what I was doing work-wise, but definitely a leap to go, okay, let's try and build this thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. Also, like the trust and the opportunity you give to people. And also back 2017, when I worked at your place, I had no idea about video editing. And you just said, hey, Joel, you can hang around for a few weeks and we will see if you can work. Thank you for that opportunity again.
You were a go-getter. So I saw someone like you and I said, oh yeah, well, Joel's going to problem solve. And I think that's what I really love about people, that they're like, they might not be super experienced, but they're willing to get in and give it a shot. And if I believe someone would be willing, like you, then there's no problem backing that, because it's like, oh, they're going to figure it out. I'll help them where I can, but I really want to see them figure it out.
Yeah, this is cool. When you talk about seeing in people if they can figure it out, or seeing the people, how do you decide, or like how, if a new person applies, or you are looking for a new position, how do you fill this this position?
Yeah.
Can you take us in the hiring process, or in the...
Totally. I think there's two ways to approach it. You know roughly what you want, and you try and detail a job description exactly for that. And that's kind of like the bigger way of like, hey, we have a need in our organization, and this is a list of who exactly we want. And if you find that person, fantastic. I think in small organizations, it's a little bit more organic. You know roughly what you're looking for, but you need to work with people as well. And I guess that's where I'm sort of maybe think a little bit differently, where I see someone and go, okay, this is where I see their skills are at. This is what I could do to help take them to the next level, or whatever it is they need to learn. And I got to be realistic as well, because some people think that you can just hire someone and they'll come in and from day one, they will start being a profitable part of a business. I have rarely found that to be true. I think there's two sides to it. How much I'm willing time to sacrifice to help develop that person is one equation. Thankfully now in our team, we have support. So we have people that have been here for many, many years, and they can come around and support. So it's not all on the person hiring. But yeah, I think you need to consider that, like your investment. And then I have a basic rule. It's like, you're not going to reach profitability with a new staff member in the first 12 months. Now, if you were looking at contractors, that might be different, but it's a different relationship again, you know? So if you're comfortable with that in this industry, I think that's okay. You gotta be long-sighted, not nearsighted.
Mm-hmm. This is amazing, because this things, when I start to hire new people, how I work with contractors, and I should ask you earlier those questions. But I
mean, people will tell me, no, Jared, you're wrong. I've been able to do this. And maybe they have, and maybe they're better at it than I am. But I've found over time, especially if you want relationships in the workplace, which last time, you know, it's easy to sort of think of things. We talk about this in our team. It's like, it's all transactional. It's like, you go do that job and you get paid and see you later at the end of the day, which is fine. And there's part of that, of course, but there's also like this family component to it, where it's just like, hey, we've been through a lot together, and if you're not doing well, I'm here for you, and I'd appreciate the same. And we see that in our team, and I definitely feel support from our team when I'm not doing too well as well. And that to me is way more valuable than the transactional side of it. Do we want to get the transactional side of workplace? Yeah, absolutely. We want to get that right. But it's the things that surround that, where I think later in life, I'm not going to sit back and go, were all these deals and transactions and work? No, I'm going to sit back and go, what do those people mean to me that I've worked with? I'm hazarding a guess that will be what I care about much more.
Yeah. And it's also like so much time we spend in work. Why only with people who we think about the transactional, and afterwards I'm done, and not staying for the beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, right? Like, everyone's got busy lives. I've had busy lives. Sometimes I look back at a year and go, oh man, I really didn't spend enough time with people I want to, and I got distracted. And so I have to talk about these things just to even keep myself accountable to it. Otherwise, it's easy to drift off from your values. Yeah.
Now you talked about your values and about like how you feel in the team. I think this often comes back to the culture you build in a company. How do you build those kind of culture that you want to have? Because like you say, it can drift away. The values can go away, and nobody sticks to it. But like culture needs to be created. How do you do this? And also, how do you get the people on to join the vision you have for the company as a CEO?
Yeah. It's the age-old question, right? Like, how do you build a culture? I think you can't get around personal responsibility. You have to be it. Like, you have to live it yourself. If you don't live it, then there's no point pointing at something and going, it's not what I want. Why not? Like, getting frustrated. Like, ultimately, I believe in personal responsibility. In saying that, there are strengths and weaknesses to every individual. So there are things that I really enjoy about our culture. For instance, we generally celebrate birthdays quite well. We do something for birthdays and try and celebrate it. I'm not that person. Like, I'm not good at, organizing a birthday gift and thinking through all that. Like, it's just doesn't come naturally. But I think there's things around that, whereas if you get the right people around and you make that a part of it, like, I will always contribute to someone's birthday, rain, hail or shine. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't have an issue there. It doesn't matter what it costs me. But in terms of actually doing it, I'm just not wired that way. So for instance, Diana, who we work together, we're married, she's incredible at that. Like, she's all about experiences and all about hosting and people's, getting joy out of their experiences like a birthday. So I think you can create culture where you have weaknesses. You just have to be intentional and you have to value that. So if Diana will go and spend 3 hours organizing someone's birthday, I can't turn around and then go, hey, you spent 3 hours doing this. Where's the work? Well, no, we value that as a culture. So that's okay.
I love it to see how you both work together and also to lead a company together. You have my biggest respect for that. I haven't seen many people where it works. That the owners work together as a married couple. What is the secret sauce that it works for you?
Or
is this too private?
What's the secret? The secret is don't give up. That's the kind of question that will make me drink my coffee fast. But to answer you, I think it's, again, you've got to be patient. Like, there's generally, in any dynamic of two people in a relationship, there's one that's going to be a little bit more patient and one that's going to be a little less. And I think the one that has the strength of patience needs to exercise that well. Not to say that they can't get to points where they're fed up with something, but yeah, you've got to value, and this is what I think Diana and I do really well. We value each other's differences and their strengths, and we verbalize them. Like, Diana will say to others, and I overhear, and it's kind of nice to hear. She goes, Jared is really good at this. And I hear that, and I don't verbalize it as much, but I think about Diana's actually really good at this, and without this, we wouldn't be able to achieve. So, and to be honest, like, that's Diana. She's the bubbly, outgoing personality. She's the sales connector type person. And Tiny Giants wouldn't be what it is without her. So I think genuinely valuing that. Do we get on each other's nerves? All the time. Do we see eye to eye on everything? Never. Well, I shouldn't say never. We do see eye to eye on some things, but a lot of the time we won't, and that's okay, as long as we have a process. And we've learned, like, it's hard working with your spouse, but we've learned over the years what is our process of figuring out the difficult things, and we've gotten better at it, thankfully, especially in the last probably 4 or 5 years. I think we've gotten much better, which is good.
That's great. And it's also amazing, like, you spend so much time at work. Why not with your spouse? It's great.
Yeah, I think, like, we were advised not to do it by many people. And I understand where that was coming from. And I think for us, it was just a decision that we decided we would try and would stick at. And we always thought, like, if it didn't work out, we could go back to our other arrangement, which is I work here or somewhere else and she works, So yeah, sometimes you just take that risk.
But it's good that it works out. Yeah. Coming back more to the business side, we talked about how you got into the business, how your business evolved from first fixing computers, now doing video for a live stream, agency, websites, all this stuff. How do you stay innovative and ensure that you are always on the forefront, if it's like not only technology-wise, but also innovative, creative, how you keep the pace of the surrounding?
Yeah. I think you've got to love learning. Like, for me, I wouldn't be able to keep going, especially in our setup, because we do a lot of custom things. We're not like like I used to work at McDonald's, and it's literally you're in a production line. You do this every time. There are aspects of our business which are like that, but mostly it's like quite creative, high level thinking. And so, yeah, all the technology, as you said, like, you've just got to love learning. And I do. I read like stuff for fun on the weekend. Like, I'm on Twitter, X now, and there's the threads. They've brought in lots of micro learning into that, and my interests are so broad and wide. But I think with business and that, I want to be able to at least be able to speak to each discipline in our business with a level of understanding that I can converse. So if you come in and you're like a systems engineer type person, I might not be the one that can do everything you can do, but I want to at a basic level understand and be able to converse with you, because when you have a problem, I want to be able to workshop that with you and go, okay, have we thought this way? And I think learning is great, because the more overarching knowledge you have, the more you can attack problems from different angles. And that comes back into the problem solving nature of what we do as well.
How would you say each and every one of you in the team needs to learn new things, or how do you manage which person in the team should, like, how broad they should learn?
Yeah, there's definitely that sweet spot. Like, you can get distracted, right? Like, there's so many things that, I'm passionate about this. And like for guys that work with cameras and all that gear, like you could spend all day just researching your gear, and then all of a sudden you don't have an alignment with what you're actually doing. But I think, like, we talk about utilization rate at work, we talk about things where it's like, okay, what's billable, what's non-billable. I think there should be maybe 5% of your work, certainly of mine, that it's just dedicated to sharpening the saw. Like, we use 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's like one of the books that everyone that joins Tiny Giants reads. Did you do it when you were? Okay, you missed out. You can come back. You can do the book. It's like a book study. It's a book club. It's weird. No, it's great. And sharpen the saw is habit number 7. Yeah. And that really is about making sure that you're staying on the cutting edge personally. And yeah, so I think I just threw 5% out there, but I think there needs to be a dedicated time, but it can't become your whole thing, right? Like, that's probably a trap that I can fall into, where it's just like, I want to learn about this. And then all of a sudden, so what I do is I end up having to do all the extra work anyway that I needed to do. It's just more hours, right? And that's any business, founder's trap that you fall into. But yeah, I think you need to dedicate some, not all.
Amazing. This is really helpful. Also, like the time, 5%, it's something which I will take away. Okay. And leading to the end of the conversation, because you're almost done with your coffee.
Yeah,
I will come to the last question. When you look back to Jared, who was 13 or after school, and a passion on his heart, the team wants to build a team, what would be the thing you would give a new entrepreneur, or a guy who has, or a girl who has an idea, a passion, to see what's the next step is, and who's like uncertain if he or she should go into this project or not? What would be the recommendation you would give to the person? Yeah,
don't be too proud to get advice from people you feel like have done that very thing well. I think I had the right level of risk taking, but I think I was a little bit shy to actually go out and just put myself out there, thinking that people's time, like they wouldn't have time for me. I think people generally do have time for others if they feel like they can impart something. So I would say don't be too proud to ask more questions, to find someone that you look up to that have done it, and let them question you, because there might be things that you've missed. And there's a big difference between a great idea and something that's going to work. Like, you should be having great ideas every day. So if you've got a business idea or something in life that you want to do, like for example, for me right now, I want to sail across an ocean solo. That's a goal that I have, and it's in a very short time frame that I want to get it done. It's a great idea, but will it work? I'm not sure yet. So I keep talking to people, and some people say I'm crazy. Some people are like, yeah, go for it. I'm still trying to figure that out. But as I'm going, I'm continuing on the process of learning and doing all the bits I need to learn. So I think, yeah, just talk to more people and then take the risk, enjoy it. And yeah, it depends. Everyone's going to be different. So some people it's fear that stops them. Some people it's like they're over eager and they're happy to fail. If you're happy to fail and get back up, great, good on you, go for it. You probably will do very well eventually. You might have a few failures along the way, but you do very well eventually, because you learn so much when you fail. So yeah, I would just say, just stay humble. Like, that for me is in our name, Tiny Giants. I want us always to be like, hey, we're small in the big world, but we work with incredible, large and influential companies, which we do. But humility for me is, I try and make that the thing. This is amazing. Also, for the end of the podcast, I take away from this podcast that you always need to be learning, no matter where in the company you are, if it's your company or not, to
that it's also great to have a great culture at the company because you spend so much time and it's more fun, and that's something you want to think back when you later in life. And the third thing I take away is that you will sail across the ocean. Come on, I'm looking forward for that.
That's a great summary.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to stay here, to film this together, but also all the stuff you put into my life and where you encouraged me. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to learn more about Jared or Tiny Giants in Australia and across the globe, they have 3 offices on 3 different continents. And if you want to learn more about them, check out their website and Jared's LinkedIn. I will put all the stuff in the show notes, and also the link to not your book, but the book of highly effective people. And if you like this episode, please comment if I should do more in English or in German, or if I should stay in German. And you can also follow this podcast on Spotify and YouTube to see more business people and people who are passionate about a thing and give their full intention and energy in this project. And yeah, thanks again, Jared, for joining.
Thanks for having me on. See you next time.